All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this edition of Batting 1,000, where we talk to the heavy hitters in the mortgage arena. Today's going to be a really special conversation because I've got what I consider the heaviest of hitters in the mortgage arena, a longtime friend, a man that needs absolutely zero introduction. Everybody knows and everybody loves Barry Habib. Barry has been a friend for 20 plus years. We have spoke at conferences together many, many times. We traveled a circuit with the old Closemore University back in the late 1990s, early 2000s. We did, I don't know, Barry, what did we do, 150, 200 seminars together during that course of time? Does that sound about right?
Yeah, we sure did. We've developed such a wonderful, close friendship. We talk often. You've been so kind. You check up on me. We pray together. We've discussed, life. We discussed strategies, the overall business, and I'm so grateful for your friendship and so proud to call you a close friend of mine.
Well, the feeling's so mutual, my dear friend. And look, I just want to say to you, what you have done for this industry in your career, it blows my mind every time I think about it. I don't think there's anybody more influential. I don't think there's anybody that's more universally loved. And here you are. You're going through a battle, and man, you're a warrior. You keep at it, and you're making differences. And I'm so glad to have you here. And I've got to say it, Barry. I love going back to the Closemore days when you and I would fight, and Jack Davis. The three of us would fight every single week to see who could be the top-rated guy. But the only one that got the quote from the audience that said, "Man, he's good eye candy," was Barry Habib. We used to tease you about that all the time.
Oh my gosh! Well, you know what? You sure had your share of being the top dog, definitely. And I could say all those things about what you've done for the industry and how everybody loves you. Same right back to you, brother.
Well, it's great to have you here. And here's where I'd like to open up if we can. I would love for you to share what's happening in your life. We know that you're dealing with cancer. We know you're beating cancer. That's what we know. And you're halfway through the process. I got a chance to see, you were kind enough to send me the recording from UWM Live where you spoke and just commanded the stage, had such an incredible message of hope and of purpose. I'd love for you to share, Barry, just talk about what's happening today in your life. Talk about some of the things that you covered in that session, because people are struggling right now in this industry. They're looking for purpose. They're looking for hope. And I can't think of anybody that can articulate that better than you, my friend.
Well, thank you. Thank you. That was, when it was a goal of mine, because we had that schedule as 5,000 people. I wanted to try and do it. The doctor said, there's no way you're going to be able to do that. It's like, you sure? So I wanted to try and do it. I was fortunate enough and blessed enough to have the opportunity to do that. Spoke to a wonderful group of people, and they were so receptive and kind. Yeah, this process started for me back in January, where it was kind of by accident because I was completely asymptomatic, and there was something suspicious that was going on, and turned out on Valentine's Day of all days, found out I've got this mass near my intestines. It's called the mesentery root. It's pretty big. It's like 5 inches by 4 inches, and then had to have 4 surgeries in 31 days diagnostically. I kind of kept things quietly. Didn't want to do that. I was on the update just about every day, a couple of times, same day as surgery. Like I did the update, then went for surgeries. So it was tough. The toughest one, Dale, was the same day that I found out. I had a webinar for 2,000 people that afternoon. So I found out that morning, and it was really, really tough for me, but I did the webinar that afternoon.
Wow.
On Valentine's Day. That was a tough one, man. That was a tough one. I just did everything I could not to be crying on the darn thing.
Yep.
But we found out that what I have is it's not great. It's called a double hit B cell lymphoma, and untreated, the survival rate's less than a year. But it's kind of nasty. It's tough to get rid of, and it's you got to be careful to make sure you pray to God that it doesn't come back. So the treatment that I have, it's called Epoch R. It's pretty intense. It's 6 rounds, 3 weeks apart, but the Epoch R stands for all different drugs that they give you. It's a lot. And I have to have 5 continuous days of chemo. So they attach us to this port. I got this port here. So they attach it to you there. Now, I thought initially, Dale, I was going to have to be in the hospital for this. So, 5 days, 6 rounds, it's 30 days in the hospital. I go nuts a day in the hospital. Okay. Yeah. So I was able to find a way to get this done outpatient in New Jersey. So it was okay for me to, stay at my home in New Jersey. I'm here in Florida now. But you have to have this bag. It's heavy and it's big, attached to you, and you carry what's like gymnastics to take showers, which I'm fanatical. Showers have to happen, but it's a lot. Just getting dressed, putting your pants on, the frickin' thing gets hooked when you sleep. It makes noise, and you got to prop it up a certain way. It can't be on its side, like on the pillow. And anyway, I'm grateful, because I thought I was going to spend 5 days each round in the hospital. So the fact that I could do it at home, as tough as it is, I am thanking God that I'm able to do that. And I'm so happy because I could sleep in my own bed. And, I'm pretty mobile still. I take the thing, I go out, go out to dinner or this and that. I want to try and live a normal life. But then the 5 days afterwards, it's pretty tough. They got a crazy dose of prednisone. So it's 270 milligrams. It's not a typo, a day for 5 days. And then you stop immediately. Most people, if you've gone on prednisone, they give like 30 milligrams and they taper it each day to kind of wean you off. It was 270 milligrams, 5 days, and then cold turkey. And that screws with you. Your emotions get messed up. You're physically, it's tough, because then you've got 5 days of these toxins in you. And it's very, very hard. But then you have about 10 good days. I'm in that now, where your energy's good, you're good, So I've been trying to still work, even though those tough 5 days, but you are kind of wiped out. But these 10 days are good. And then my next round will be a week from today, actually. So I'm kind of mentally start thinking about it and preparing for it. But we're on the second half of this now. And after 2 rounds, I did a CAT scan, and thank God it showed that the tumor is responding and it's shrinking. So that's what we want. So we want this to go into remission. I'm going to do another scan the 20th of June. So that'll be after round 4. And we just pray to God that, we can send this into remission, and then we'll have to monitor it carefully and just pray that it stays away. So that's where we were at, bro.
Well, we are praying with you and for you every single day. And I am 100% certain you are going to beat this thing. Nothing takes down Barry Habib. That's all there is to it.
I pray to God that we can just keep going, because
we will.
I want to try and do some good things with this, Dale. I've been doing a chronicle on this every day.
I love it. I wanted to talk about that. So tell us about that.
So when I'm not ashamed to admit I was terrified. I'm still scared. But I was really terrified about this, and there's so many unknowns, and the doctors don't really give you a lot of good info and clues. It's unfortunate. I wanted to know, what am I going to feel like? Am I going to have energy? Am I going to be able to do presentations? Am I going to be able to work? I hear stories about people that, they're really, not tolerating it well. And there's not a lot out there. So I'm with my son, Jared, just a few days before chemo started, April 8th. It's a few days before that. And his girlfriend, and Jared and I were having a bite to eat together. And she says, she said, I know somebody that I work with at the animal hospital who's a veterinarian, Dr. Ben, and he just finished his 6 rounds of chemo. A little different. His was called R-CHOP, not as intense, but those 6 rounds of chemo, I bet you he could talk to you. So she sets up this call with Dr. Ben, and while it was different, he's very articulate because he's a physician and he's smart. So I was able to have a really meaningful discussion with him. And I got off the phone, Dale, and I was like, okay, I can do this. So it gave me courage. It gave me strength. And I thought about it. I said, I want to make this happen for other people, because I got lucky that I was able to talk to Dr. Ben, and I was terrified going in. I bet you people, their families, they're scared, they're nervous. It's the unknown. What if I did a chronology of what to expect every day, and then little tips of what to do? Like every Monday afterwards, I have to get this shot of Udenica to build up your white blood cells. Well, it's freaking unbelievably painful a few days later, because what it does is it makes your bone marrow create white blood cells. I thought I was having a heart attack
So
a couple of
sorry.
days later.
Oh,
And then
so
your lower
sorry.
back, I was to the point, I got a high pain tolerance. Dale, like you, we're road warriors. In the many years that we've been speaking, you got to deal with all kinds of stuff and still, travel, get on stage. So you can deal with a lot of dings, right? I'm pretty durable. But my son even said, Dad, I've never seen you in so much pain. So I discovered that the doctors won't tell you this, but if you take Advil, a pretty high dose of Advil, if you could tolerate it, that will really help you manage it. So little tips that you could give along the way, how you feel, what to do, so I'm trying to do that for other people. And well, I go through this and I kind of show you day by day, what this is like. And I'm, kind of give this, each day is about a minute or two. So there's just a couple of short snippets just to show you. And in this one here, just disconnected the bag. And I was just reflecting on, how grateful I am and the things that we take for granted, just being mobile and, being able to sleep and, be able to turn around or get up without being attached to this or take a shower without gymnastics. And, and I talked about something that evening as I recorded this, and I looked at a picture of myself, in the not too distant past. And I thought to myself, I said, wow, how lucky were you in that photograph? Right then and there, you didn't have a care in the world. And while, of course, we think we've got these issues, we think we've got these problems, sure, business is slow, this and that, you really have no troubles in the world.
No,
because
none.
things could get so much worse. And what I'm the message here is you just don't know how lucky you are, just absolutely how lucky you are. And Dale, that's the message here is we don't know whatever struggles that we're facing, and as tough as they are, and even now for me, even right now, what I'm going through, I am really blessed and lucky and fortunate for all the good things that I have going on, and the blessings that I have and the things that I'm able to do. Believe me, there's no taking things for granted for me. I know that business could be better and things could always be better, but boy, in a heartbeat, man, things could be a lot worse. So we can't get stuck in that negativity. We have to just say, okay, we're so grateful and thankful. And now, while we have these things that are challenges or things that could be better, let's just work on trying to make them better instead of getting bogged down in a negative mindset. So I think that's an important message for everybody because, look, every day, Dale, you know this about me forever. I wake up every morning, and soon after I wake up, I out loud say all the things I'm grateful for, and then pray, of course. But it just gets you in the right state of mind to try and deal with the invariable things that are going to be coming your way that aren't so pleasant during the day. That okay, you can be upset for a little bit, but man, this is what I've got, negative. But boy, let's not lose sight of all of these great blessings that I have that I'm so thankful for and so lucky to have.
Barry, you're such an incredible inspiration. When you talked about this at UWM Live, it literally, I was driving with Laurel in the car. We were headed up north, and it brought tears to my eyes. Just how inspiring it was to me to see how even in the challenges you're facing, the very first thing that came out of your mouth is, I'm grateful. I'm grateful for where I'm at. I'm grateful for what I've got. It's a message that people need to understand, that we can get so negative in life about things. And the fact of the matter is, we've got to start looking outward and going, wait a minute, there's people got it way worse than us. There's so many more things that could be going on. Business is just that. It's business. It's not the end of the world. It's not the end of your life. It's such a small part. And although, yes, of course, it plays a big role in our lives, at the end of the day, it's not the most important thing or even close to that. And the thing that matters, what matters is family and friends and health and just being able to appreciate all that God has created for us and provided to us in our lives. It's just an amazing thing. I would love for you talked about in that speech two qualities that you see in people who succeed, and you talked an awful lot about mindset and attitude. Can you share a little bit of that with the audience as to What do you do? I mean, how does Barry Habib, how is he Barry Habib? How have you maintained that gratefulness and that positive attitude in light of all the struggles? And you're right, you talked about earlier, just the traveling thing. We've done this for decades upon decades, and that's tough. It's nothing like what you're dealing with today, but you just learn to be positive through whatever's happening, no matter what. Not to let those things you can't control you.
So Dale, when I was a little boy, I grew up, you know this, I grew up very, very poor. My parents were
Yep.
immigrants. My mom worked in a sweatshop. My dad passed away when I was a young boy. So a single mom, it was, I know what it's like to be very poor.
Yep.
And as poor as we were, as we'd ride the subways in New York City, if my mom would see somebody less fortunate, even though we didn't have much, she'd take out her little change purse. It had these little gold sequins on it. And I remember she would open up her change purse and always give to somebody that was less fortunate, even though we
So
didn't
sweet.
have. And she would turn to me and tell me, and she would say, "It's good to help people." And God watches you. God knows it's good. It's good to help people.
Love
And
that.
so at a very young age, I learned that there's a feeling that comes with doing good for others that makes you feel good. And as poor as we were, that feeling gave us richness. It gave us that we had a purpose to do good to others. So at a young age, she taught me the importance of that and the good. Like I would feel so good as a young boy to see my mom do that because we were helping, and we would see the smile on the person's face, and that just made us feel so good.
Love it.
And it's that state of mind that is so important because people can achieve great financial goals and you need them. So don't dismiss them. And achievement goals and become very successful. And you need that. You need goals. You have to continue because it's the journey that's important. Once you achieve a goal, it's pretty ephemeral. It wears off fast. It's like, okay, so what's the next high? It doesn't last very long. So it's that journey. It's the progress that you're making that gives you that good feeling. But it's the fulfillment that many people miss. And I've discovered that fulfillment comes from doing good, helping others, giving your life a meaning, giving your life the purpose that you have in life, that it makes a difference to other people. So we all do that. We all touch people, no matter what. You don't have to be on a stage. There's opportunities every day in the way we go about just living our lives. If it's to make a positive influence to others, to somebody, if it's to make a meaningful difference, this is what gives your life meaning. And boy, I'll tell you, Dale, it's come through loud and clear for me. It's a little hard to talk about because when people have heard about what's gone on with me, and I had to be very transparent because I couldn't just disappear on doing the morning updates, right? So I had to tell people why I would not be on as many updates, and I didn't honestly know how I would tolerate the chemotherapy, so I didn't know if I would be able to do things. So the response from people has been so loving and so warm. I mean, gosh, people like yourself and so many people that text and call and send notes, but it's not just like hey, Barry, I hope you're doing well, which I appreciate. Of course, it's these beautiful notes about, how I've influenced them or made a difference in their life. And, you read these things and I've cried so many tears, but they're tears of happiness. They're not tears of sadness. To know that in some small part that I had a positive influence or made a difference. And it's, it's very humbling, but it's incredibly rewarding. And every one of us has a story like that because of the good that we've done for others.
Well, and my friend, you'll never know the depth of that in your lifetime. I mean, none of us will. You have impacted millions. I mean, what you don't see is the impact that you have directly that then impacts from there. Whether that's impacting their family because you've helped change the life of that individual, you've provided them with things that help them build their career so now they can take care of their children and their spouse. I mean, that just goes on and on and on and on. And I want to encourage you and say that the depth of impact you've had is way beyond what you can even fathom. And I want to personally thank you for that, because
Thanks,
it's
brother.
impacted my life. I mean, you and I have been, you have touched me in so many ways over the years. And all I can do right now is pray for you and tell you how much I love you every time I see you. And I do. So you know that, but we'll keep that going. And I love how you've just put so much in perspective already in this conversation for people to understand that you just got to really get up every morning and realize that there's so much you can impact in the people that you do. I love the comment you made a moment ago. You said, you don't have to be on a stage like you and I've done for decades in order to impact people. You're impacting them every time you have a conversation, every time you smile at a person on a bus, every time that you acknowledge a person in a room. Those things have a major impact on people. And the thing I've loved the most about our friendship, we are so connected as soulmates because we grew up very similar. I grew up poor like you did. I didn't lose my mom, but I lost a brother when I was a young boy. Saw him die right before my eyes. It was very life-changing for me. And just like you, my parents taught me the value of helping others. My parents were foster parents for all these kids that were going through all kinds of major difficulties, had a massive negative impact on me as a young man, but it had a major impact on them in a positive way. And I worked through it. I worked through that over time and learned how to. And you and I have both built purposes in our life. For me, it was going to India 22 years ago and meeting 4,000 orphans in an orphanage. And that created a purpose for me that changed my whole life and trajectory for the next 22 years. For you, it's been all of the things you've done to help others and what you saw your mom go through. You named the book after her quote. I love how your book is named by what your mom said, that there's money in the streets. It's such a cool thing. So that's such a great story. So it really is, you're making a difference every day. If you would, talk to people about what it takes for them to be able to pull their bootstraps up every morning and handle the mental challenges in this marketplace today that they see, because nobody can speak to that better than you can.
Well, first of all, thanks for all the kind words, Dale. And you and I are truly connected because we believe in the same things, and that's what you do every day for people, Dale. I know you do. And for me, again, when we talk about that gratitude portion and getting your mind in the right place, I think that's very critical, because the way that our mindset will be something that resonates and permeates outwardly.
Yep.
So if we can be grateful, and if we can then better navigate when something goes wrong, because that's what often happens. Sometimes you deal with somebody and they're less pleasant. I don't think it's something that it's wrong with us. They've got issues going on and their mind is just not in the right place. If they were having a grateful mindset, then whatever negativity they had, put it in perspective, maybe they could then potentially reconcile that and feel a little bit better about themselves. And then outwardly, they would give you a better experience. And then you would think better of them. And then you would take that goodness, and instead of you being pissed off because they pissed you off, you would feel good, and it would permeate to the next person that you dealt with. So I think that it's really critical for us to be in a good place mentally. I'm not saying you're going to be there all the time, but to try and put things in perspective. Look, it's okay to get upset. It's okay to get pissed off. But then if you can put it in perspective and say, look, there's so much good here. There's ways that we can find that we could project outwardly to be positive. And then that resonates along the line. It's incredible the influence that it has. I talk about being magnetic.
Yep.
And I think in being magnetic, what you want to do is everyone you come across is make them feel smarter, make them feel better. So making them feel smarter is something that, you have to do the work, and you have to make yourself a resource that could be helpful to others. And you have to pick your spots, because unwanted advice is resented. But if you can be that resource, if you can make people feel smarter, if you can give them useful, helpful information and knowledge, they will be drawn to you just like a magnet draws people. But then if you make them feel better, that's something people crave. Everyone craves that. So, and we don't want to do baloney stuff here. It's got to be real. It's got to be authentic. And I believe that you will find what you look for. Many people look for things that are negative or look for some ways because we feel insecure. And
Yep.
we, in our insecurity, somebody's doing better and we say, well, maybe they don't have that right. So we look to find the negative to justify our own insecurity. But if we look for good, and we point that out to them, and then if we take it a step deeper, either with knowledge of researching them a little bit, or trying to understand what it took for them to do that, and then acknowledge that, people love that you acknowledge them. People love that you can see the depth of what they're doing and give them a kind word for it. And because unfortunately in this world, there doesn't seem to be a whole heck of a lot of that goes down. I mean, just look at the comments that happen on social media whenever somebody posts something nice. There's always, unfortunately, some haters that are out there.
Oh, I know. Crazy.
That will be something that they crave. That will be something that draws them to you. And that will be something that makes you more magnetic. So I think those two things are very instrumental and helpful in making us as individuals more magnetic and then propelling us to a higher level.
I love, you talked about that in your speech, and I just love that phrase and that term of being magnetic, something that you have portrayed your entire career, of making people feel smarter and making people feel better every time you come in contact with them. It's interesting because all the companies that I work with, and you see the same thing, I see it all over the country, where I'll see two loan officers in the same company, in the same market, with the same product, with the same services, with the same rates. One of them is closing 2 loans a month and one is closing 20. And the question always comes up, how does that happen? What creates that? Well, I'll tell you what creates that. How magnetic they are, how positive they are. Are they educating their customers and building that deep relationship? I mean, you were a killer producer when you started in the business years ago. That's what got you to where you're at today, was you were a top producing LO. Both of us have that same background. We started at the bottom rung of the business. We didn't know anything, either one of us, when we started. For me, it was 41 years ago. For you, it was what, 37, 38 years ago?
Something like that. More years than I admit. Yeah,
Been a long
years.
time. Yeah.
Wow.
And we were 20, 30, 40 loan a month producers, both of us, because we weren't selling rate. We weren't selling product. We were helping people solve their financial problems.
Exactly.
We were advisors who understood that the value of an originator, the value of what we do in the business, is the advice that we give to the person on the other end of that phone and how we make them feel about themselves. It's such an important thing that we wake up each and every morning, to your point. We are grateful for all that we have. We get a positive mindset. We dispel all the negativity. Don't even let yourself get in front of it. And when you see the negativity, go, you know what? That's out of my control. I'm not dealing with that. I'm going for whatever I can do to help people. Those things make a difference. And I think that magnetic mindset you talked about is so critical. You talked about another trait too that I'd love for you to share in that speech, that was what you said was the second most important trait outside of being magnetic.
Yeah, there's a few things that I think can help us in business, and one is vulnerability. And I think in any relationship, so one of the things that we want to try and strive to do, Dale, is to build trust. And if you think about how important trust is, without trust, things really get gummed up and slowed down. And think about how much of a pain in the butt it is to try and remember all your different passwords and then to change them. And you hear these password breaches, and then the double authentication processes that you have to do. It slows things down. And I think we can all relate to past relationships, whether they be romantic or friendships or business, where trust was absent. And it just nothing goes right but when trust is there, how fast do things happen and how beautiful are things when there's trust. So think about how important that is. So establishing and building trust, I think there's a few ways to do it. And one, of course, is with knowledge. And the knowledge portion is so critical to be a master of your craft. Because on the other end of that, the other person, if they see that you're knowledgeable and that you're serious, they say, well, their brain kind of behind the scenes, you may not even be conscious of it, but they trust you more because this is a person that knows their stuff. They obviously, they study a lot. They take things seriously. They are someone that, wants to excel. And that means that maybe they'll do better with me, whether it's romantically, whether it's business wise or whatever it is. So the trust bond becomes closer.
Yep,
Another is vulnerability, and vulnerability. This is a tough one, Dale, because
it is.
vulnerability is kind of like exposing your weaknesses. And we have been taught not to show weakness, and maybe sometimes it's not a good idea to show weakness, right? But if you want to build trust, the key is that you're so important to me, whether it's business or romantically or family. You're so important to me that I will admit my shortcomings, my weaknesses, my product's weaknesses, because I don't want to hide stuff from you. I want what's best for you. I care about you so much. I love you so much as my partner. I love you so much as my family. I love you so much as a friend, or I care about you so much as a business relationship that what's going to survive here is what's best for you. I might not get the deal, but you can never say I gave you wrong advice or didn't do good by you. That's what
Love that.
survives. And in order to do that, let's point out some of the things that might be shortcomings or weaknesses. Let's go out of our way to do it, because that shows the customer, or it shows the love relationship, that you care about them so much that you're willing to take a risk with you being knocked down a peg in order to show them that you care about them so much that you want what's right for them.
You just said so many things right there that were so incredibly powerful that people need to hear today, particularly in this industry that we're in today. Because what I see, what I hear, you probably see and hear the same thing from people all over the country. We need more technology. We need better pricing. We need more products. No, you don't. That is not what you need to succeed in this marketplace. What you need is what Barry just shared with you. You need to be vulnerable with your customers and your partners to let them know that you are in it for them. Barry, this is what I've loved about you. I wore this T-shirt, by the way, in honor of you, because every time I interview you, I wear this T-shirt because I truly, this is how I would define you, as a humble hero within our industry. And the whole others first thing that we have been built mortgage champions around for the last 30 years. Philippians 2, 3, and 4, do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit, but in all things with humility, value others above yourself. That's exactly what you're talking about there. Looking out for their interests, not your own interests, and making sure people understand, you know what, I'm not going to do everything right, but you know what, I'm going to do what I do well, really well. I'm going to be great at what I'm great at, and I'm going to admit those things that I'm not so good at, and I hope that it works out for us, that we can work together in that. And people love that. That's what people need today, is they need transparency, vulnerability, honesty, trust. 32 years of marriage doesn't happen between Laurel and I if we don't trust each other implicitly. It just doesn't. The whole game is relationship at the end of the day, and you just articulated it so beautifully in all of those things that you just said to help people understand it's not about the market, guys. It's not about rates. It's not about inventory. It's about the one-to-one relationship that you have every time you interact with another human being in this marketplace. If you do that well, you win. And I do want to talk about the knowledge thing for a minute, because I think this is really important. This is what you're the best at of anybody in the industry, as far as I'm concerned, is helping people understand the marketplace, understand how to approach customers and help them to identify why it makes sense to buy a home in a 7% market or refinance in a 7% market. I think a lot of times when we say knowledge, I think what a lot of originators go to is knowledge of my products, knowledge of qualifications, knowledge of my guidelines. No, that's not the knowledge we're talking about. You have to have that knowledge, but the real knowledge that matters is, let me tell you why this is a good time to buy. Let me tell you why this makes sense for you to pay off your debt. Let me tell you how I can get you out of debt. Let me tell you how I can save you money every month and build wealth for you for the rest of your life. That's the kind of knowledge that you and MBS Highway have provided for decades upon decades. If you're listening to this and you're not an MBS Highway subscriber, you absolutely should be. You should listen to Barry every morning and learn these things. So talk a little bit about that side of it, Barry, so people understand when you say knowledge, what you mean by that.
So, thank you for the kind words and the humble hero. I mean, you've always portrayed that, Dale, and your incredible son, Jake, who I've gotten to to know and love. He's behind the scenes right now.
Yep.
He
Great guy.
he epitomizes that every single day, right? So, it's beautiful to see. So the knowledge portion, I think in our industry, our job isn't a low rate. Our job is to create wealth.
That's right.
So we don't really have control over the rates, and somebody's always going to be cheaper. But if we're a master of our craft and if we have the knowledge of how to use this tool of a mortgage and real estate, we can create wealth for our customers and show them that. And it also gives you a chance to show vulnerability, because while someone may be thinking about renting or buying, when we do the evaluation, show them all the aspects of it. Explain to them that, hey, look, your real estate taxes could go up. You're going to have repair costs that you wouldn't have as a tenant. You have the big expense of selling the property, which is a cost. So these are things that I would go out of my way to tell them the negatives. And we have a chance to do that every single day when we go through explaining things. Rather than being on different sides, feel like you're on the same side as the customer, almost with your hand on their back, metaphorically saying, hey, let's look at this together. This is good. I'm a little worried about this. This could be, if you were looking at it as a partner in strategy, then your knowledge is something that they're going to take and respect, instead of being a little cautious of feeling that maybe you're using your influence and knowledge to sell them. You're using your influence and knowledge to guide them. And I think that's critical. We see that every day in simple examples. You go to a restaurant and sometimes you go with a big appetite. Dale, you and I have broken bread many times. I'm guilty of this, right? Well, let's get this for the table. Let's get that for the table, right? It's because we're hungry. And sometimes a server who might say, hey, you know what? You've ordered so much, there's big portions. You probably, that's going to be too much food for you. They're literally cutting their commission, which is the tip, because it's typically a percentage, right? Because they're putting what's good for you ahead of them. And that makes you trust them more, makes you like them more instantly, because they're giving you, caring advice. In a clothing store, somebody who's not trying to sell you and push stuff, but who's telling you, well, I don't like the way that looks, I wouldn't get that. You really listen to their advice more. Right. A real estate agent who, instead of saying every home you should buy, says, I'm a little worried about this, or I'm not, did you notice this has to be repaired, or this? They're now your advisor instead of a salesperson, because they're pointing out things with their expertise that maybe we didn't know. That helps guide us. The fact that they're negative makes us trust them more as our guide.
I love it. So what would be, I have to ask you this question, what would be the number one bit of advice that you would give people in this marketplace today? I can't wait to hear this personally, because that's a big question, I understand, but you are so plugged into the market, you're so plugged into what's happening out there. What should people be doing today to succeed in this marketplace?
Simple. Never give up. And the reason why it's so important in this time right now is because the good stuff is closer than you might think. And Dale, you could speak to this with more experience than me, is that we have seen very good markets followed by some very slow and difficult times.
Yep.
And individuals that gave up, that withdrew instead of engaged now, those are the individuals that we wind up, unfortunately, seeing working at different places at the shopping mall and invariably it isn't in the far future that things turn and they would have been able to reap those benefits had they have stayed in.
Yep.
So the message is don't give up, but why? Well, rather than just say it, let's go with a few facts. One, in the last 2 years, there's been over 10 million transactions done. 10 million. I think that all of them are going to be refinance candidates. So that's a lot of refinance candidates. So we don't just say, okay, that's a good thing coming. What are you doing to plan for that now? Are you marketing to them? Or do you have a plan of attack? Is your social media up to speed? Because you want to be a message of one to many in an environment where there's going to be a lot of opportunity. And then take a look at what the Fed has started doing. As we're recording this, Dale, what the Fed has started to do is now start buying $35 billion a month in mortgage-backed securities. Now, could mortgage rates go up? Of course they could. But if everything was equal, we would be in a situation where you would see interest rates improve. The Treasury has started doing something this month they haven't done for 20 years. Buy $9 billion of Treasury. By the way, did I say mortgage-backed securities? I didn't mean to say that. I meant to say Treasuries on the Fed. So that was my mistake. So let me clarify that. The Fed is buying $35 billion a month in Treasuries that they will be buying, not mortgage-backed securities. And the Treasury is also buying $9 billion. So that's a total of $43 billion a month, $44 billion a month that between the two of them will be purchasing, because the Treasury is between $8 and $9 billion. So that's a lot of Treasuries that will be purchased that should help to keep rates a little more favorable. I think the people writing off the recession may be a little premature. I'm seeing the consumers tapped out. I'm seeing that things are slowing down. And the golden ticket for the Fed to start cutting rates would be a 4.2% unemployment rate. As we speak today, it's 3.9. We're not that far off. I think we'll get there. I think things are going to turn. You just got to figure out a way to stay in the game and have enough runway so that you can get through this period, but don't get through withdrawing, get through with yourself engaging and be ready to pounce.
Well, and we got to keep reminding ourselves, it's a supply and demand game. It always has been. Demand has never been higher. Not even close. You look at the population numbers, Gen Y, Gen Z, 168 million human beings. The two generations before that, the baby boomers and the Gen Xers, and you're only looking at 133 million people. So we've got population numbers on our side. Inventory is growing steadily. It has been all year long. We're seeing inventory continue to get better and better and better and better. And consumers, they've, you and I have seen this because we've been through up and down markets that a lot of people haven't been through just because of the longevity. And we know what happens when you come out of a low rate market and rates rise, and people who've never been in one before don't understand this. There's a cooling off period where consumers sideline. And then when they don't see rates going back down, they all of a sudden go, I'm getting back in. And that's what's happening right now in 2024. If you look at the numbers, 2023 to 2024, really the rates and everything about the same, yet production's way up this year. Why is that? Simple. Because consumers have said, I need to buy the house. I need to sell and get out of this one. I need to pay off my debt. I need money for improvements. All of those life events that create mortgages are going to happen, but you got to stay in. To your point, you can't give up. I've been watching lately. I don't know how much I love World War II history. And I've been watching a lot of the World War II in color and all these things. And Winston Churchill fascinates me. The one who said, never, ever, 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 ever give up. I mean, he was an amazing leader when he led Britain through all of the problems with Germany, because he just said, we're not giving up. You're going to have to kill us. We are not giving up. And they were victorious through the process. We need more of that mindset in the marketplace today.
Yeah, we sure do. You mentioned so many great things. And another thing you brought up is an opportunity. Still 32% of transactions today are refinances. And you coined the phrase code, cash out debt eradication. If I believe I'm getting that correct, that's your phrase that you use so perfectly, because when what you're talking about there is the fact that we have a lot of equity that's been built up. At the same time, there's a lot of debt that's out there. So these are tools that you could use today to continue to do business. And the amount of purchase transactions, you could use a similar strategy for that lock-in effect to make the difference a lot less painful to go into a more expensive home by taking a bigger mortgage and getting rid of some of that debt. Now, the life events, to spell some of them out, because I know you know them, but just to kind of review them for everybody, is the reason why I believe you're saying the things that people have to get out and move is if you have a child and you need the room, well, then you're going to do that, right?
That's right.
If you want the home office, if you want the backyard, if you want a garage, and many other reasons, life happens. So people will do that. They'll get over it. They'll make the move. There's only so many people that can not go ahead and move up. Sure, some will stay in that lock-in effect, but as time passes, as debt accumulates, there are reasons to bridge that gap.
Yeah, studies just came out the end of last year showing that the average consumer debt, now that's non-mortgage debt, in the U.S. is $104,000. I never thought in my 40 years in this business I'd ever see a six-figure number. with that. That's crazy. So when we start talking about rates are too high on mortgages, hold on a second now. You got $104,000 at an average probably of 16, 17% between your car loans, your credit cards, personal loans, and all that other stuff. Combine that in with your 3% mortgage that you've got at $250,000. The blended rate, we're well above 7% when you blend that out. You can create all kinds of savings for people today. So
May
I
I
love the fact
share?
that
May I share something, Dale?
Please do.
Shows that I'm gonna.
And where's equity? 209,000 was the last number that I saw.
Yeah,
for the
here you
average
go. So
equity.
they got a 3.25% rate, Dale, and then just all the things you said, the car loan, the credit cards, this and that. It's a lot easier to get to that total that you've got 6.5% to 7%, exactly as you had said, Dale. I think you hit the nail on the head for people to really think about the fact that you might think you got 3.25%, but your overall rate, which is much more important, is really closer to market rates right now.
Yeah, it's good. So, Barry, for sake of, I don't want to keep you on here too long. I can't tell you how much I appreciate you doing this. I know that every day is a struggle, and even when you're feeling good, I know that that's hard. Is there any closing? If you could close out with a message for the audience, what would you say to them today?
Well, yeah, you're right, because even today I feel good, but for me, I haven't experienced the nausea, but your stomach's sensitive, so you have to be mindful of that. There's things you have to manage, right?
Yep.
And your strength's not fully there, so you have to keep positive. I can get bogged down in negativity, as we all can, because we all have things that we're struggling with. We all have things.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying to ignore them. Try and make them better. Remain with a positive outlook and enjoy every beautiful moment that you have and appreciate that. Because you could still appreciate. I mean, listen, you're going to have these moments, but if you're in a mindset of being upset and worried, you're missing out on the good stuff that you could be appreciating, right? So I'm choosing to appreciate those good things. I'm choosing to be positive and think positively about the future and the outlook. And it's in God's hands. So whatever's meant to be is meant to be. But I'm going to do everything I can in the meanwhile to be a good role model for my children and to be hopefully a good influence to others and make a positive impact on others while I can, as long as I can. And again, to be grateful and to keep that good mindset of gratitude so that I can radiate positivity to others. And as we said, to never give up. Dale, when I go for my chemo treatments, I've kind of gotten, because I have to go there every day, even though it's outpatient. Yeah. So I go there every day. They give you 3 different bags of meds first, and then they refill your bag and you go. And then the first and Monday and Friday, it's a little bit longer. They give you a drug, rituximab on Monday and Friday. They give you Cytoxan, and then the other 3 days they give you 3 different drugs: etoposide, vincristine, and doxorubicin. That's what's in the bag and the pump that you have to have for the 5 days. But so when I go there, I'm there for a while, Monday through Friday, start the day there. And the girls know me there. Dale, just like you, I've got a personality and, I've made friends with them. And even with the other patients, I try and be
You're
positive.
magnetic. You're magnetic, my friend.
So they know, they kind of save a chair for me, Dale. I'll show you where they put me. And they know that I like to sit in this one chair where they put me. And it's by a sign. And the sign says, never give up. And I like to be right in front of it so that I'm constantly reminded. And, people do come and sit with me. Rosa comes to sit with me, or my kids will come and sit with me. And this is where I like for us to be, right by the sign here that says, never give up. Here I am getting my meds. And this is a close up of the sign. And so to part with a message, my message would be exactly this: never give up.
Well, my dear friend, you and I are getting old together. Let's just be clear about that. So we got a lot of years ahead of us, and you're just you got so much more in the tank, and you're going to influence so many more people. Thank you so much for being here today. I know it wasn't easy for you, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate it, but I knew that people needed to hear the message and needed to see you. And for those of you who don't know Barry, if you don't know Barry personally, I know you know who he is. This man's every bit as kind and every bit as sweet as he comes across in this. Don't think for a minute that's a show, because it ain't. This is one of the kindest men I've ever known in my life, and it's been an honor to have you as a friend for 20 plus years. We got 20 plus more at least to go. We'll get to our 80s, and then we'll figure out where we're going to go from there. But look, I want to thank all the prayer warriors. I know we got hundreds of people praying for you, and I am absolutely 100% certain that you are going to be healthy. That thing's going to go away. And I'm looking forward to many more dinners and breaking bread together with you in the near future, my dear friend. Love
Thanks,
you
Dale. I love
so
you too,
much,
buddy.
and
Love you
just
too,
really,
Dale. Love you.
really appreciate
This,
you.
this was easy for me. This is a highlight. This is a gift. This is a blessing to be with you always. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, God bless you, my friend. I will keep praying, and let's see each other soon, okay?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Love you, man. Bye.
Thanks for being here. Love you, my friend.